All right. All right, let's go. I'm back. So my food is I dump all the food in the rice cooker and I'm gonna wait for it to cook. Maybe it's gonna take like 50 minutes to an hour. I don't know. Just place any veggies and lots of cans of tuna and rice because it's Takikomi Gohan. Yeah. All right. Let's continue where we left off. Um, we were reading. Right. Go back. No, go back. Oh, there you go. My shoulder was shaken softly. It was extremely gentle. After just one shake, it stopped. It felt like someone was peering at my face. My consciousness was slowly returning to me. As did the pain in my body return along with it. The smell in my nose, it was a smell so strong it made me want to vomit. The smell of blood. I felt a tingling around my upper lip. The taste of iron spread throughout my mouth. Slowly, I opened my eyes. I was in the same back alley as before. I was lying face down on the asphalt, and right in front of me was a small, reddish brown puddle of liquid, like seeping out from one of the dumpsters. Grimacing at the smell invading my nostrils, I sat up. My whole body ached. My face in particular hurt like hell. It was hot and tingly, like someone had taken a lighter and gasoline to it. Right beside me, a girl I recognized was kneeling down and looking at me. She looked like she was about to cry. It was the Tenkose, the girl who transferred to my class. Um, what was her name again? Ohara? Oshihara? Why was the Tenkose here? I wondered. And then the transfer student held out something to me. It was my wallet. Why did she have it? My head still foggy, I looked around. The 3 DQNs that attacked me earlier were now lying in the pool of blood. Oh, what the hell? It was like they were being one-shot by some OP mob. The faces of all 3 were barely still intact. Were they dead? None of them moved a single muscle. No. Was this the 7th New-Gen case? Who the hell would do something like this? Had I? The transfer student then stood up and beckoned to me. I was completely pale. She alternated between looking at me, who was still very confused, and the 3 collapsed people. Tears welled up in the corner of her eyes. Suddenly she grabbed my hand and took up running with me, in tow, staggering every once in a while. Wait. Give me a second. Something is weird. I was looking at Restream and... Is it displaying? Okay, it's displaying. I don't know why it's not displaying Restream. So I thought my stream was broken. Anyway. Suddenly she grabbed my hand and took off running with me, in tow, staggering every once in a while. Oops. As soon as we reached the main street, the Tenkose let go of my hand. We hadn't run very far, but she was already out of breath. We both fell silent. Maybe the Tenkose was just as bad at talking as I was. No, that didn't matter right now. What I needed to do was figure out what the hell had happened. I've been being harassed by those DQNs, and they picked a fight with me. Then I must have passed out, but how long had I been unconscious? Nice, I had a schizo delusion just now. that was a weird order of things. Why did the delusion trigger happen? Then the choices just appeared. This is weird. Anyway, there it was again. I heard it again. I thought someone I knew was nearby and was trying to talk to me, but I couldn't see anyone that fit that description. Damn it. Where was all these auditory illusions coming from, and why were they all happening today? I see. It was a delusion. Of course that includes the bloody DQs from earlier too. It had to be a delusion. It's just like Sarah, my waifu who lives only in my head. Alright, I'm fixing the volume on my phone side. Oh yeah, one of the reasons I have because I have like open ear headphones, which kind of sucks for streaming, but I have this for listening to music, so those are well, it is what it is. Anyway. Sarah is still my waifu. Nothing's changed on that front. Besides, I don't have any memory of some dumb blonde character named Koizuki. Then who's talking? No way. Could it actually be the timid Tenkose standing in front of me? When I thought that, the transfer student gave a small nod. Huh. There's just no way. What just happened had to be just a coincidence. Maybe I'm mistaken, and it just looked like she nodded at me. There's no way any of this is true. I'm not a telepath, not even close. What the hell is it on you? For some strange reason, the Tenkose looks sad. Damn it. No, even I'm getting somewhat depressed. If what you say is true, Kozupi, then prove you're the Tenkose. What are your measurements? So you know it to start with. So you can't answer. That really means you really are just a... He was really trying to trick her there. She tried to answer. The funny thing is she tried to answer. She even tried to answer. Like, give her an excuse, She could have dismissed it, but no. She gave an excuse. Well, then, just give me your bust size. Just a general estimate is fine. The conversation unfolding my brain was getting way too perverted. Maybe it was time to dial it back a bit. It is true. The Tenkose's chest is flat as a board. So that part's consistent. At least, incidentally, well, I'm partial to tiny breasts too. Well, you know, in the next game known as Steins Gate, there's a famous quote. They say that flat is justice. For some reason, the Tenkose's face was deeply scarlet. Her already petite body got tinier and tinier as she made herself small. This is coincidence. It was just a coincidence that the voice and her reaction were in sync. It's not a proof of anything. Well, yeah, but I have no way of knowing your actual bust size. And I'm sure you'd just ask someone to arrest me if I tried to measure you myself. Okay, then how about your birthday? Oh, her birthday's near. Because it's October 28th. Or 29. I can't remember what the day is in this game. No. He woke a week ago. So... And the week ago was 28, so it's already November at this point. So her birthday's close, actually. Anyway, let's continue. Well, there's no way for me to confirm it if that's true either. If I could go on a whim. My brain, wait. If I could, on a whim, go up to some 3D girl I never spoken to before and ask her, hey, when's your birthday? I would become a normie a long time ago. When I thought that, the Tenkose had been hanging her head suddenly started fishing around in her bag. She then pulled something out from inside and thrusted it toward me with tears in her eyes. It was the student handbook, one that was practically brand new. Upon flipping open the cover, I saw the photo of the Tenkose's face, the name Orihara Kozue, as well as her date of birth. But out of the three, what really caught my attention was the date of birth written there. It was November 13th. Alright, I should check the name. Tenkose's name, according to her student handbook, is Orihara Kozue. Kozupi.
まさか
だから最初からそう言ってたのらコズピーなの。
Could this somehow not be a delusion? That voice is her?
西条くん大丈夫？
The Tenkose. Her head is still hanging downward, glancing up at me and pointing at my face. Her finger that was trembling.
って出てる。
I touched my hand to my face. The bottom of my nose was slimy. My nose was bleeding. The Tenkose offered me a tissue. I took it from her and wiped away the blood, but I was still feeling a bit very uneasy. The Tenkose is...
コズピーだよ。
Kozupi isn't moving her mouth. She isn't talking, so why can I hear her voice?
心の声なのら。
And not with that obnoxious speaking style. I can't stand it when people do that in real life.
ごめん。
Wait. You can hear my inner voice too?
聞こえるよ。
普通に話さないなんで
恥ずかしいし。
Oh, I know how you feel. I'm like that too. When they said that, she scurried around like a chipmunk, glanced at me, then started walking toward the station by herself.
ここ離れた方がいいと思う。
Why? Confused, I followed her. As I walked, I noticed something. There was a stabbing pain in my side. The pain throbbed with each step I took, so I was forced to stop. I gripped my side and took a breath. There were people everywhere. I hated Shibuya with a burning passion. It felt like everyone I passed by was laughing at me. It felt like everyone was watching me. I felt like everyone knew my face. Don't look at me. Don't laugh at me. I want to find somewhere I can get away from it all. I need a place to rest.
ほいじゃあいいところがあるならご案内します。
The energy in Kozubi's voice now is a stark contrast to the few times we saw each other at school before. And even though she doesn't talk in real life, her inner voice has energy to spare, to say the least.
ああ、今うるさい女って考えた。
Being able to talk to her in my head is convenient, but at the same time kind of annoying. Come to think of it, I'm accepting this stuff pretty easily, despite the fact that I'm not sure how the hell it actually works. Is this really a genuine real-life psychic power?
やっぱりコズピーのこと気味悪いよね。こんなの普通じゃないし。
I'm not bothered by the fact that you're not normal. It's just that I met all kinds of weirdos recently. But you, Kozupi, you talk kind of funny. Sure, but you're not scary. And you're not Dampatier, if anything. I prefer this.
そう言ってもらえるとうるうるってなっちゃうのら。
As we walk, Kozupi suddenly burst into tears. Startled, I hurriedly gave her back the tissue. After bowing to me way many more times than she needed to, she took the tissue and wiped the tears from her eyes. Back to what I was saying earlier. It feels really weird, and also makes me feel pretty uncomfortable when people can hear everything I'm thinking. That's my honest opinion about it.
そうだよね。ごめんなさい。でも聞きたくなくても聞こえちゃうの。
That's so.
そうなの。
Well, either way, I know you don't want to be told by an otaku freak like me. I was right. A disgusting guy like me really is worthless.
そんなことない。
Just as I was about to revert to my depressed face, depressed state, Kozubi shouted at me within her inner voice.
ダメだよ。そんなこと言っちゃ。そんな悲しいこと。
Tears started to trickle down her face once again. Why are you crying? Do you feel sorry for me? If so, there's no reason to. I mean, look at me. I'm so utterly delusional. I create personalities inside my head. I treat them like they're actually real people. For example, there's Remy.
それって咲畑さんじゃなかった。咲畑さんのこと？
You know her?
だってクラスメートだよ。西条くんの彼女さんなのら。
Like hell she is.
あ、違うの？てっきりそうだとばっかり思ってた。
Kozubi knows who Remy is. Which means Remy is real. She's not my schizotolpa girlfriend. After all, she's real. Oh my god. Sorry, my bro. I really couldn't pass on that. Well, you know, some people actually resort to having like a schizo girlfriend. I mean, schizotolpa girlfriend. And I got distracted by Twitter. I should stop reading Twitter right now. Anyway. She isn't just a delusion. She isn't someone I made up in my head. Remy really is real.
そうか。
I'm so happy. But if that's really true, then why hasn't she contacted me a single time? Maybe the O-Front incident really did make her fall out of love with me.
咲畑さん、地震があったあの日、青い顔をして早退して行っちゃったのら。それ以来、学校来てないよ。もしかして家族に何か悲しいことがあったかも。
That's so. It felt like I've been saved. Now that I knew that Rumi hadn't abandoned me, I genuinely felt like I was about to burst into tears. It's really true. If Rumi really isn't a delusion, then I actually have a reason to go to school to see Rumi again. So until I see her once again, I'll try my hardest to.
気をつけてね。
Huh?
西条くんが咲畑さんと付き合ってるって思ってたから言わなかった。けど咲畑さんには気をつけて。
What do you mean?
咲畑さんはよくわかんないのら。
Again, what do you mean? What do you mean I don't really know her? What do you mean because of the crucifixion? Or is it that even though I'm supposed to have been classmates with her since first year, all my memories of her are missing? It's true that Rumi still is a bit of a mystery to me. But she saved me over and over again. Whenever I'm scared, she tells me that she'll stay by my side. She's not my enemy. For some reason, Kozubi looked a bit unstable.
そんなに一度にいっぱい考えられると。コズピーついていきにゃい。
Sorry. This is just pretty new to me. Whenever I have a conversation with someone, I always end up not being able to say even 20% of what I've been thinking before it ends. But when it comes to this mental stuff, I guess I just can't help but talk too much because I think too much. Yeah, this is actually yeah. This might be tiring to someone who's capable of telepathy, man. Telepathy is a nice skill, but when I think about it, for an introvert, this would kill like another introvert. I guess that kind of applies to you too. I never would have expected you to talk so much inside your head, that is.
喋ってるっていう感覚は薄いよ。考えてるだけ。それが流れ込むだけ。相手にはビビーって、相手からはドバーって。慣れてないと自分の思考と相手の思考がごちゃごちゃってなって、にゃーってなるの。
Oh my god. It's like I'm listening to some weird the way she talks. I know this is a very anime way of talking, but this is like it's so hard. Like even like Hanyu wasn't like this, or like Furuti. No, those are low hanging. Those are not low hanging fruits. Let me think of a low hanging fruit. I don't know. I don't think I watched some anime that's straight up this level of moe. I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, I probably never watched something like that. Anyway, let's continue. In Japanese, please. I can kind of understand what you're going for, though. I think you're trying to say that you don't have the real subtlety or nuance of an actual conversation. There's nothing like, for example, looking at each other's expression, then pretending that you're no longer able to bring yourself to say what you wanted to say because of it. If people's thoughts just leaked out wildly, then you're no longer able to read the room. Transmission isn't one way, but it isn't two-way either. It's like having to pick out one arrow out of an avalanche of other arrows, all of which were flying in different directions, all while somehow ignoring all the other ones you didn't need. You had to tune out the excessive noise. This is okay. I know there have been a lot of fictional.
だから気楽だし距離感も近いけど。
Wait, I know that there are a lot of like fiction that had this kind of problem because some people can't control their mind reading ability. Especially Kogias. There was a guy who had to like constantly listen to some recording of C2 talking to it's Mao in Kogias. But yeah, I think a better another analogy. Well, it's not mind reading, but it's like Superman in Man of Steel. You know, when he was a kid, he had a hard time trying. He had heightened senses, so and he needed to be able to control, like, you know, how could he hear when his senses are so heightened that he could hear the heartbeat of a person from nearby, or all sorts of sounds that that the normal person would be able to ignore, you know? Anyway, let's continue. Consume
傷つ
small
く
way
こと
food
も
cooking.
簡単なの。
For a moment, Kozupi's expression clouded a bit, but not long after, a tearful smile arose on her face.
西条くんは初めてなのにすんごく上手だよ。コズピーとビビビが合うの。
Because they're both the same kind of person. They're both introverts who have hard time talking to each other. And I think personality wise they're kind of close in that aspect. I still like Ruby's like a better match for Takumi. Excluding the anime stuff. Anyway, let's continue. Beep beeps. Are you trying to say we're on the same wavelength? We're on the same Denpa?
波長波長。
Well, I guess it's probably because I do something similar with Seiratan pretty often.
あ、でもあの時の西条くんは怖かったの。おぴー。
Back then.
今日の朝教室で。
Oh, God. That reminds me. I think I had a really stupid delusion as well. Oh my! Oh God! She saw. She saw that. That was really embarrassing, man.
だからうひゃーって思ってつい声をかけちゃったのら。本当はなるべくこの力を他の人に知られないようにしようって決めてたのに。
Wait, you don't understand. Back then, I was just really desperate, and at the end of the day, it was just a delusion. Who am I kidding? You probably hate me.
きっとそ
I
れ
love their conversation, man. I really love their conversation.
西条くんを殺してたよ。
Huh? She said such a disturbing thing so innocently. The contrast between the two extremes sent a chill down my spine. Remaining silent while still communicating in our heads, the two of us passed through Center Guy and came out of Inokashira Dori. It's so funny. It's so cute that we're communicating in their heads. From an outsider's perspective, do the two of us look like a brand new couple, walking in silence without even looking at each other? That's so cute. Of course she heard that, man. Of course she heard that. Kosubi let out a crazy loud gasp next to me. Her eyes went wide and she looked up at me.
カップル？
No, it was just a random thought. A random thought.
させられたのら。西条くんにラブラブだ告白されたかと。
Sorry. I knew it. It really does suck trying to think when someone's listening to every thought you had. Whenever I was talking to Kosupi, it would probably be better for my overall health if I avoided unnecessary delusions as much as possible.
聞きたいな。先週の西条くんがテレビに出てた時のこと。
Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
それ決めつけ。うぐー。コズピーはあの時下にいたんだよ。
By the way, before I continue, I realized that because the previous chapter had a lot of Seiratan scenes, you know, this is what that was, because before that there wasn't like a lot of Seiratan scenes. I think. Oh yeah, that was deliberate. That was deliberate. That was good because we're gonna meet up with Kozue she kind of talks in a similar manner as Sayonata. So this was in preparation for this stuff. Oh my god, that was good priming, man. That was good priming. Wait, let me check my rice cooker really quickly. Eight minutes before my food is done, but I'm still gonna continue the stream. This is gonna be awkward for me because I still wanna eat and I still wanna stream, so I might be slower. When I'll be slower for sure. Down below.
スクランブル交差点ハチ公口の改札前ちょうど通りかかってあの時ずっと声聞こえてたよ西条くんの声ナナミさんを助けたい助けなきゃって聞こえたよ
Did my inner voice really reach that far? It's a surprisingly long way from the roof of Ofront to the ticket gate at the
そ
station.
れだけあの時の西条くんの思いは強かったのら
Huh, I guess Kozubi really did understand. I didn't cause such an uproar because I was planning to show off my ESP.
だから価値はなくなくないよおなく
Doesn't not she's doing double negation here. But in the end, it was all pointless. I put my own life before Nanami's, and at the very last second, I escaped. Kozubi stopped before the entrance to Roth, and then while pointing at the entrance, he looked at me. This must have been where she wanted to take me. I didn't think there would be a place to rest inside Roth. It was a small cramped spot that was filled to the brim with customers. My legs were unconsciously shaking. The cheers and shouts I heard that night at the scramble crossing resounded inside my head. I don't want to go to places with a lot of people. Once I go inside, there'll be nowhere to run.
大丈夫だよ
In spite of how afraid I was, Kozubi marched on ahead, ignoring me. I had no choice but to follow her as fast as my legs take me, trying to my best not to look at my surroundings. As I got on an escalator, Kozubi looked back at me standing behind her. She was standing on one step higher than me, putting us at about equal height.
ナナミちゃんは助かったんだよねだったら西条くんが頑張ったおかげだよ
My power isn't what saved her. I might as well have done nothing at
屋
all.
上から手を伸ばしてたよね何をしようとしたのビョーンって飛ぼうとしたのかな
No, I was trying to get the sword. It was a delusional sword, and it blended right in with the scenery I saw from the
リ
rooftop.
ソード
A D sword. I was told that I could reach out and grab it, but I couldn't.
なんで
I shouted that out loud without thinking. A couple passing by on the escalator gave at me an irritated look. I frantically slapped my hand over my mouth. Kozubi, how do you know what a D sword is?
コズピーも持っているもん
As soon as we got out the escalator on the 5th floor, Kozoe casually raised her right hand above her head. It was like she was trying to shade herself from the radiant glare of the sun using her hand. As if it were running along her hand, light suddenly appeared in the air. No, it wasn't light. It was closer to the lines. If I were to describe it, it would be similar to a wireframe. Countless rays of light intersected with a seemingly empty space before eventually forming a shape akin to that of a snowboard. And then several streaks of blue light, more fiercely brilliant than any of the wireframe lines, ran across the entirety of it. Kosubi then clasped her open hand. It's a very interesting D sword. I mean, I already saw this in the anime, but it really does look like a yeah, it's a very weird D sword. Very weirdly shaped D sword. And it's hard because all sides has an edge to it, except for the inner part. This is symbolism about her. Anyway, immediately following this, which had originally been a wireframe, appearing as though a texture had been applied to it, transformed into masses solemnly seemingly cold to touch metal plank.
ディソード。
I'm gonna have a positive delusion of someone who could read my mind. What the fuck? The shape was far too different from the ones Senna and Ayase possess, and yet even so, the aura about its body was the exact same. It was too sinister to be called a board. It was too unaffected to be called a sword. It possessed a pure, unadulterated savagery, one which intermingled with its destructive nobility. She held it in the air with incredible ease. What? Where in that tiny body was she hiding that kind of strength? From the looks of it, that thing has to weigh at least 5 kilograms. Kozupi, having literally read the question in my head, turned to me and smiled bashfully.
コズピーはタクミちゃんを守るためだけに作られたアンドロイドなのら。
はい。
Really? You're having a delusion? Well, she can read your brain right now? Has she just said android? What kind of anime plotline was that? Ignoring me dismally, Kozupi clenched her hand in an adorable fist.
タクミちゃん、もう安心なの。タクミちゃんを狙う悪いやつはコズピーがドッカーンってするのら。ちなみにコズピーはメイド機能もあるの。だからこれからタクミちゃんと一緒に住んで身の回りのお世話もしたいのら。
I see. That would be convenient. I was willing to accept that Kozupi was an android on top of everything else. That is, if she fulfilled one non-negotiable condition.
エッチなことをできる機能はありますか？
For whatever reason, I said all that very formally. Also, Jesus Christ, what did I just ask her? While I waffled on whether or not to apologize to her, Kozupi's cheek turned bright red and her eyes shot downward.
エッチなこともできるの。
Wait, I think I heard her question. this year.
Yoru no gohoshi. Ganbaru no.
Ah, holy fuck! A maid with combat abilities and the ability to perform nightly services? What kind of a Rogue is this? She came in hands with perhaps too many optional features. Lol. Japanese technology is the best in the world. While I was having that idiotic delusion, Kozubi waltzed around the store like she owned the place, her footsteps light and bouncy. She didn't even attempt to try and hide her sword from people around her, acting as if it was the most normal thing in the world. It's been the same with Senna. She'd been lunging around the gigantic sword in the middle of Shibuya with no regard to the people around her. Kozubi was way too calm. Well, her and Senna were really crazy. And what I remembered was the smell of blood. I remembered the scene of the Dikuans lying down in the pool of blood.
あんなひどいことする人たちは死んで当然だよ。プンプン。
So they really were dead?
生きてる価値もないけど、あんなゴキゴキな人たちは。
Cockroaches?
ゴキブリ？
Yes, Kakiburi.
はあ、殺したかったな。
I could feel pretty clearly what Kozubi's mind was when she said that. Where Kozubi's mind was where Richard at. There was not a trace of malice within her. She just wanted to take revenge on the bad people who have wronged her. I didn't think there was anything inherently wrong with that.
最近渋谷はますます物騒だよ。昨日も怖そうなゴキゴキ男たちに拉致されそうになっちゃったから、ドカドカドカーンってしてやったのら。
This girl honestly seems pretty twisted. Albeit in a different way than me.
西条くん、こっちです。
Kosubi began to walk, her gigantic D sword still in hand. She was pretty short, and her arms were pretty thin. She didn't look like she could even lift a feather, and yet despite all these things, she didn't show any signs of her sword weighing her down. In fact, her steps were light and springy. I covered my eyes again and again. Each time, the tip of the sword nearly collided with passing customers or products on display. Miraculously, though, it didn't end up hitting anything. We then arrived at the staircase. It was dimly lit, and unlike the rest of the floor, there was no sign of anyone around. No one even approached the area. I didn't expect to find such a desolate spot inside Roth, a ridiculously popular store, especially since it was only a 5-minute walk from Shibuya Station.
ロフトだけじゃないのだ。
I need more salt.
の階段って全然人がいないの。
I could confirm that the last time we went to a department store in Japan. Actually, it was in Shibuya. Yeah, it was in Shibuya. The last department store in Japan I ever went to was in Shibuya. It was also kind of close to like Sataya, I think. You only moved here a few weeks ago, and I've been living here for almost 2 years. How exactly did you know about this? But I didn't.
コズピーは東京に来てから毎日渋谷を歩き回ってたのら。それで見つけたの。憩いの場所だよ。
Kozupi, seemingly in a good mood, sat down on the steps. She then casually laid her D-sword down on the floor. I had a pain in the side that was becoming unbearable, so I decided to take a break as well for the time being.
それで景色とか模様とか見ると別のものが見えたりしないかな。ゾウさんとかウサギさんとかライオンさんとか。一番おーって思ったのはオオサンショウウオさんに見えてた時。
What in the world are you talking about?
理想度の話ですよ。うっぶー。何かの模様とか景色とか見ると動物さんとかいろんな形に見えることがあって。
You mean that? Yeah, I experienced that before. When I was looking for the perspective of the old front rooftop, I saw something. I saw a D-sword blending into the scenery.
はい、ピンポンです。コズピーが最初に見えた時はハムポンポンが死んじゃった時。
Ampopom?
小学生の時飼ってたハムスター。ハムポンポンのお墓を作ってあげようって土手に行ったのら。でもスコップ忘れてお墓作れなくてふみゃーって泣いていたら、お空にこの剣の形が見えた。それからはいろんなところでよく見るようになったのら。
How did you actually get your hands on it? In the end, I found my sword, but I couldn't take it. No matter how hard I tried to reach for it, I couldn't grab hold of it.
ただ願ったんだよ。
You wished for it? Like, that you could have it? But if that's what you did, then I did the same. Stopping my thoughts in my tracks, Kozupi looked at me and shook her head faintly.
違うのら。願ったのはね、殺してやりたいっていうこと。
え？
Her inner voice echoed clearly in my head. I haven't misheard her. She said it very clearly. Kozupi wished to kill, and she'd been beaming as she said it. The stairs leading up to the 5th floor to the 6th were very quiet, with only the faintest background music leaking in from the restaurant. Neither one of us said a word. The sound of someone breathing entered my ears. Was it hers? No, it was my own. The staircase where no one would ever approach. The blind spot in the heart of Shibuya, a pocket of air. I swallowed back my saliva in an attempt to wet my increasingly dry throat.
そう願いながら、ミューンって空見たらまた剣が見えて。でもその時まで剣とは思ってなかったよ。なんだかガキーンってしたものって思ってた。 あれでブーンってやったら殺せるかなって無意識に手を伸ばしたら本当につかめたのら。
And then what happened? What did you do after that?
殺そうとしたけどできなかった。コズピーの力じゃ半殺しにするのが精一杯だったのです。
This girl is like she's broken.
壊れてないよ。プンプン。ここに剣あるもん。
The way she gazed lovingly at the sword right beside her, I could tell she had absolute faith in it. Something in her heart told me as well. What would I have to become this broken in order to get my hands on the D sword? Was I still not broken to begin with? Apparently not.
この剣が怖くて仕方なかった。
That was what Orihara Kozue had thought before she came to Tokyo. But now it was different. Now it had become something very important, something entirely irreplaceable to her. This sword, if I have it, then I won't be afraid. The sword will protect me. The sword is my heart. Another me. It had been about 3 weeks ago when she had first begun to think so. Ever since she was a child, Kosuke had the ability to hear the inner voices present in other people's heads. Oh, I guess she was already psychic to begin with, even before the D-sword stuff. Dude, I'll be right back. Oh, I might make a mistake of eating too much, because this is good. Not like objectively good, but it's like comfort food good. As to when she had first become aware of it, she could no longer remember. I must be crazy. I must be really sick. These thoughts pervaded her mind as she sought to understand. Even though she was very young at that time, Kozumi knew that her power was something no one could know about. So she concealed it from her parents. Her powers rendered her unable to make friends, forged a rift between her and her family, and made the people around her think she was merely a girl with a ridiculous intuition, the one that gave them the creeps. Even when she came to Shibuya, she had still been afraid to go to school. She did not want to meet anyone new, nor talk to anyone. She thought that they would be just creeped out by her, no matter what she did. She did not go to the school on the day she was first supposed to, nor the next day, or even the day after, instead choosing to wander about Shibuya during the morning. There was no doubt that Kozue's parents had been notified by the school, as the staff had noticed Kozue had been absent without prior notice, and yet her parents had said nothing to her. It would be understandable for people to mistake her for a middle school student. But unlike the countryside where she used to reside, there was no one around to rebuke her as such when she walked the streets on weekday mornings. It had been several days since she had first begun wandering around Shibuya. That time, she found a place to relax. The stairs within the local ROF. It had become routine for her to sit there and stare out into space. The routine held true on that day as well. After spending nearly 4 hours there, evening broke and she left ROF to return home. Raindrops fell from the dark sky. Kozoe did not have an umbrella, yet without looking up at the sky, not once fretting about getting wet, she timidly stepped out into the rain. At that very moment, something entered her field of vision. The world is ending. A sign that was written upon it, with the message upon it. Slaughtered by the rain, the handwritten was blurred. The person holding the sign was a lone, lightless, homeless man, sitting on the side of the road under the pouring rain. His head hung downward so that no one could see his face. Perhaps he was dead. That person, seeing him as though it was a mirror image of herself sitting on the stairs, Kozoe seized her stride. For just a moment, she hesitated. It was a stranger, a homeless man she had never seen before coming to Tokyo. Just the mere sight of him brought a feeling of revulsion. If I talk to him, what if something terrible happens to me? What anxieties pervaded Kozoe's mind? But what was far stronger than that anxiety was Kozoe's strong urge to kill the man. It was an all too sudden impulse, one that struck Kozoe with a feeling that if she went through with it, she would be killing herself as well. And so after hesitating one moment longer, Kozoe sent the man the voice of her heart.
世界は終わるの?
The man's shoulder twitched. He was not dead. Slowly he raised his head. His cloudy eyes, peeking out from between shodden bangs, looked at Kozoe.
ああ、終わるよ。
Kozoe's eyes widened slightly in surprise. Not at the fact that he had just confirmed the world was ending, but that the man had replied at all. She's not been expecting a reply. The person to whom she would send her inner voice to would rarely respond well. Instead, they would face immense confusion, write it off as auditory illusion, or shudder in terror before walking away with her pace. Even if she did succeed in communicating with them, it was difficult for the other party to send back a reply in an ordinary manner. People's thoughts were far too chaotic and disorderly. Yet the man's expression did not change. He simply answered Kozoe's question with an incredibly short response. The heart Kozoe felt through the man's voice was laden with deep sadness. To her, it almost felt as if his heart was shedding tears.
君は剣を持っているね。
どうしてわかるの?
君のような子を他にも知っているから。
Kozoe raised her hands above her head. but drew her sword where she stood. She thrust the end of the blade toward the man.
この剣が見えるの？
見えないよ。
じゃあどうしてわかるの？
おじさんが悪い人だからだよ。すまない。
どうして謝るの？
おじさんのせいなんだ。
どうしておじさんのせいなの？
忠告しかできないから。
All right. I'll be right back. We drink, get some water. All right. I should now 100% focus on this now. It's 10:52. I think I want to end stream at 12. So quite some time.
動き出してしまったから。もうおじさんには止める術がないから。
じゃあおじさんを殺せばコズピーは悪くなくなるの？
その剣は君を殺す者にも守る者にもなる。思い出してごらん。空を見れば雲が、川を見れば流れがそこにあったはず。それと同じこと。その剣はいつも君のそばにあった。自分自身の心を見てごらん。そこにあるのがその剣なんだよ。
でも殺したいって願ったらこれが手元にあったんだよ。この剣はコズピーとコズピーの周囲にあるあらゆるものを殺すためのものじゃないの？
負の感情は否定されるものじゃない。人が誰しも持つものだからね。特別じゃないんだ。どう向き合うかだよ。目をそらしてはいけない。自分を否定してはいけない。世界は共造。君の心の中にある性は同時に負となりうるし、その逆もまた可能。世界が終わるのか生き続けるのか、それを選べるのは君たちだけなんだ。
In the end, Kozue had not killed the man. The urge had, for some reason or another, ceased to be as the man spoke to her. She did not expressively understand the meaning of the man's words, but even still, she thought long and hard before eventually arriving at a single conclusion. This sword is me. If I look at it and don't deny it, it'll save me. And for that reason, Kozue fully cast her faith in her sword. I tilted my head, having just listened to Kozue's story. Who the hell was that man she kept talking about? The homeless guy carrying around the sign. Couldn't think of it. I felt like I've seen him around a few times too. Was it the same guy? Yeah, that's why I think it was early. I think it was in the first stream today. I mentioned that you should watch out for a guy holding a sign. So that guy's important. What I didn't get, though, was why some random bum knew so much about these swords. Or was I the odd one out? Maybe these swords were actually huge in Japanese pop culture and just been living under a rock or something. Fat chance. I glanced over at Kozupi. Her face was so calm and peaceful. It was hard to believe that she ever blurted out psycho things that like wanting to kill people. She gently glided her fingers over the surface of her D sword.
そういえば、あのおじさん、別れ際にこんなこと言ってたのら。君たちは特別な存在だ。中でも一番特別なのは、その目、誰の目を産み落とした少年。らしいんだって。
I didn't know what to say. What the hell?
西条くん、心当たりあるの？
いや、別に。
嘘ら。心は正直なんだよ。西条くんは今、ものすごーく関係ありますって考えてる。
Oh, god damn it. This is exactly what I was talking about. It sucks trying to think when she's listening to every thought I have.
なんか怖い顔になってる。その目、誰の目って西条くんが最初に考えたの？
I bit my lip and stood up. My nosebleed had stopped, so I pulled out the tissue crammed into my nose. Kozubi tilted her head as she looked up at me.
どこへ？
I'm going home. Even though my sides were still killing me, I ignored the escalators and elevators and took the stairs down to the first floor instead. It was much easier to dodge the crowds and make my way outside that way. Teary-eyed, Kozue timidly followed behind me.
コズピー、何か怒らせるようなこと言ったかな？
I disregarded Kozubi's question. I was too focused on trying to sort out the thoughts in my head. That homeless guy she met? Could he have been one of the Shogun's comrades? And what the hell was with him mentioning Sonome Darenome? Who had he been talking about when he said the boy who birded Sonome Darenome? Me? That could have been right. I wasn't even close to special. Being a hero wasn't in my blood. I mean, I couldn't even get my hands on the damn D sword. I was just an average Doe villager. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Being special? No thanks, man. I'd rather not have another O-Front breakdown in my lifetime. So that begged the question. Who was that boy? I considered the real culprit behind the new gen cases, Shogun. No way Shogun was anything other than an old man. But his voice and body made it seem like a kid more than anything. Pretty much everything about him screamed how abnormal he was. How he was someone special. 2 of the 6 current new gen cases had Sonome Darenome appeared at the scene of the crime in some capacity. I used that phrase quite a bit, but only ever in my own head. They barely even meant anything, so Why the hell were they doing in what the hell were they doing in all those places? Was there an actual reason behind hidden in there somewhere? One that would reveal why Shogun was persistent in coming after me. Maybe the homeless guy had some clues I could work with. I imagine he was still somewhere in the city, carrying around his cryptic sign. I should look for him. So I looked for him. Then what? I paused for a moment and shook my head in denial of what I'd been thinking. What good would it do to look for him? It was a whole lot more likely to just put me in harm's way. For all I knew, the guy was one of Shogun's minions, only there to lure me into some horrifying trap. So if I just cruised my way over to the guy, there was a strong chance it would just trigger another quest. I didn't know if I could handle that. I was already sick to death of all the pain and terror I've been going through lately. My suspicions didn't end at the homeless guy. I was even suspicious of Kozupi. She didn't really have any reason to, yet she was speaking to me with her inner voice. What was that? Had she been under orders by Shogun to approach me just like Yua? With her really unsettling stance on both attempted and actual murder, it was very possible she was an accomplice in Nugent. After all, the mayhem at O-Front, Rumi had just up and vanished and hadn't heard a word from her since. Then Ayase had been hospitalized after her attempted suicide. Nanami was fine, but the two people on my side had still completely disappeared on me. Was there any guarantee Rumi would ever come back? For starters, was she really just taking time off from school? Granted, I only knew that because Kozupi had told me. And I had no way of knowing if she was lying or not. All my hair stood up on end, howling at me something was off. In the end, me and my world were all too empty, hollow. There was nothing left to believe in, nothing that didn't seem like a lie.
それは被害妄想なのら。
Kozupi was standing right behind me. Her inner voice was carefree as always. Her brutal-looking D-sword sat comfortably in both her hands as she carried it around. She then cast an upward glance at me. I averted my eyes. Are you my ally or my enemy? Which is it? Did you come here to kill me?
コズピはただ
Just what? Kozupi suddenly yelped in excitement. Startled, my head jolted upward, only to realize it wasn't me she was looking at, nor the person she was waving to.
セナさん見て
Senna? Shan? Oh, wait a second. Tracing the end of Kozupi's gaze, sure enough,
小杖か
it was always Senna, with her D-sword to her shoulder. As she walked toward us, her expression made it clear that her mood was just as sour as ever. I reflexively tensed up. What's Senna doing here? Is it just another coincidence, or is it a calculated trap? Do these two know each other? They did. Did Kozupi call her here? Are the two of them here to kill me?
だからそれは被害妄想だよ
Yeah, but what's to say to believe in? Although it is true that no matter how many times I run into Senna, she never tried to attack me. But that doesn't mean she's my ally. Besides, she's scary as hell.
セナさんは怖くないよ
Kozupi, I could really go without the commentary.
怖い何のことだ
As I figured, Senna could hear Kozupi's inner voice too.
なんでもないです。
Kozupi simply bayed in delight as it bumbled about. Facing the ground, she gently grasped the helm of Senna's clothes and smiled bashfully. The two of them were an amusing combination. I felt stupid for getting so nervous. They're just like sisters. I love this delusion. One, the strong and firm older sister. The other, the younger and more timid sister who loves her sibling more than anything else. On top of that, both of them have small breasts. So mega fucking good job there, nature. Wait, chill out. What if Kozupi reads my mind again? If I'm not careful, I could easily die here. How are those two related anyway? Are they classmates? Maybe not, since they're in different grades and all. Is there something connecting the swords of people who have swords? Are the two of them Shogun's underlings? Wait. She's there. Okay, that's okay. No, let's stick with normal. I thought it changed just to like casual. I wasn't interested in seeing them in a swimsuit right now. I put myself in the cat's stance in case I had to escape at the moment's notice. What that specifically entailed was standing with my heels raised off the ground. That would allow me to speed away like a cat if the need arose. Maybe. I don't know. I've seen it in some manga forever ago.
セナさんはね、コズピーが東京に来てから最初のお友達なのら。
Rather than answering, Senna merely glared at me. I figured she was about to lunge at me with that sword of hers, but that never happened. Calling her scary hadn't seemed to have pissed her off to that extent, at least.
小杖どうしてこいつと。
たくみちゃんはクラスメートです。
Takumi-chan?
ほいでね、たくみちゃんはコズピーの剣が見えるんだよ。
それは知っている。こいつもギガロマニアックスだ。
What now?
ギガロマニアックス。理想度が見える人のこと。たくみちゃんもそうだよ。
A Gigolo-maniac? Who in the world decided to name it that? Gigolo? Given it has a name at all, then maybe these powers aren't all that uncommon.
セナさんはガルガリ君買いに行くとこなんですね。
それは。
That's so cute. From the sounds of it, Kozupi had read Senna's mind. Speaking of which, I've seen Senna eating crunchy coons in the past. With winter right around the corner, I wasn't sure why she'd be eating popsicles of all things. Guess she really liked them.
ほいじゃみんなで一緒に行きましょう。
Announcing that with her inner voice, Kozupi clung to Senna and pulled her along.
たくみちゃんも早く。
いや僕は
I tried to turn her down so I could get out of there already, but Kozupi started tearing up almost immediately. Her teary eyes looked up at me as she silently pleaded with me. On top of that, Senna was glaring at me like she was ready to rip my throat out with her teeth at any moment.
ついてこい。お前にもおごってやる。
It looked like Kozupi had scored a critical hit on Senna with her tearing assault. Urging me to follow, I reluctantly tailed behind her, heading toward the convenience store right behind the police station. After buying each of us a crunchy coon, we sat near the handrails in front of the police station, nibbling away at them. While Kozupi looked delighted as could be, Senna's air of indifference remained the same. I was stressing out. The police were right there in the station in front of us. And yet, despite that, they paid no mind to the fact that the two people with me were another violation of the sword and firearms control law. The police were supposed to police people. The girls were right in their line of sight, but they didn't even try to arrest them. In fact, they didn't even care enough to slap us with a warning.
食べないの？
Now that Kozupi pointed it out, I just went screw it and started eating my crunchy coon. Though it was bothering me how people were staring. Though I suppose that it was only fair. Senna and Kozupi were cute as hell, and the very idea that the two small-chested sisters like them were hanging out with an otaku freak like me, just sitting and eating crunchy coons together out in the cold. Well, it was all pretty absurd. Maybe I was overthinking it. I couldn't block out the snickering in my ears. Was I just hearing things? Was it another auditory illusion, or was it just Kozupi laughing? I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be looked at. I was afraid of people gazing at me. I probably should have worn a hat. Seriously, I really wanted to get out of here this second. I continued hurriedly eating crunchy coon so I could leave it already and eat every bite left my body, feeding every colder. This was gonna give me diarrhea, real bad later. How were those two not freezing?
で小杖なぜこいつと一緒なんだ？
こいつじゃなくてたくみさんですよ。たくみさんが悪い人にいじめられてて倒れてたのら、だからコズピーが解放してあげたの。
So she'd been the one who looked after me?
ディソードを使ったのか？
殺したかったとかバキって。
Kozubi was attempting to gesture wildly in an attempt to explain how things went down. But since her left hand was busy holding her colossal D sword, she was just waving the other around spastically, which of course was the same hand that held her crunchy coon. She only taken a single bite of her crunchy coon before launching into an air with a perfect arc. The popsicle soared through the sky before eventually landing smack dab in the middle of the road where it scattered into pieces. Kozubi was on the verge of tears as she stared at what remained of her popsicle.
うかつな真似は避けろと言っただろう。
ごめんなさい。もったいないお化けが出ちゃう。
アイスのことじゃない。ディソードのことだ。
Senna held out her half-eaten crunchy coon to Kozubi, seemingly giving up what she had left. Still a bit teary-eyed, Kozubi smiled as she accepted the popsicle with a bow of her head. Colorably surprised. I guess even Senna had her moments.
でも悪い人には罰ゲームをするのが当たり前だよ。
Speaking of those assholes, who exactly turned them into mincemeat? Kozubi or me?
たくみさん。セナさんはね、すごーく何でも知ってるんだよ。リソードっていう名前もセナさんに教えてもらったのら。あとリアルブータ。あれれ、ブッダ
リアルブート。
そうそう。
How did that mean? I never heard of that before. That was just as scripting as the giggle of whatever thing earlier.
リアルブートしてない件は誰にも見えなかったはずなのにね。セナさんにだけ見えてたの。リソードが見える人に会ったの、セナさんが初めてだったんだ。その時はおひゃーって思って、なんで見えるんですかって聞いちゃった。ギガロマニアックスだからなんだって。
ギガロマニアックスって何なの？
さっき言ったのら。剣が見える人だよ。
A bit more detail here. Like, how does it work? How does that work?
ディラックの海に干渉できる力を持つもの。それがギガロマニアックスだ。
You know, the last time I ever saw the concept of Dirac C, it was in Evangelion. So I want to read that. A concept in quantum mechanics defined by Paul Dirac, an observable primordial soup of all elementary particles that is said to be uniformly distributed throughout the world. Appears in the wave equation, Dirac equation of the whole theory, which ties together both quantum theory and the theory of relativity. Dirac defines the vacuum as a state which in negatively charged elementary particles are so tightly packed together no more can be created. This is the Dirac C. Okay. Rather than Kosubi, it was Senna who answered what was on my mind.
ディラックの海。
Senna shot me a scornful gaze as I tilted my head in puzzlement. The hell was that look for? Sure, I may look like an idiot, but I'm pretty damn smart when it comes down to it, you know. I was pretty sure that there actually was a concept relating to quantum mechanics.
負のエネルギーでいっぱいに満たされた観測不能の境界面とかだっけ？
大雑把に言えばそんなようなものだ。そしてそこに干渉するための端末がディソード。ディラックの海に突っ込んだパイプの先端と考えればいい。 ディラックの海とつながっているから、ディソードも負の物質で構成されている。無限に崩壊している存在なんだ。だから普段は普通の人間には触れることも見ることもできない妄想のようなものでしかない。このディソードこそあらゆるリアルブートのためのショートカット的役割を果たす。
Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. This was what I mentioned earlier. I was waiting for like Senna doing like info dump. This is the info dump stuff.
ディソードとディラックの海とのチャネルを大きくすることで、ディラック方程式の空港理論によって対生成が起き、粒子と反粒子を作り出せる。この粒子がギガロマニアックスが生み出す妄想、世界にとってのエラー。そのエラーを現実とするには、作り出した粒子を他人のデッドスポットに送り込めばいい。粒子は即座に電気信号に変換され、周囲の人間に共通の認識、現実として成立する。逆に消したいときは、粒子を送り込んだデッドスポットに今度は反粒子を送り込み追消滅してやればいい。
Right. I remember Senna mentioning that before.
世界の仕組みは3つの数字で全て説明できる。0と1、そしてマイナス1。ディソードはそのマイナス1を生み出すためのショートカットになる。
Okay, the negative particles. Okay, got it. This was all giving me a headache.
周囲の人間に共通の認識となると妄想が現実になるってどういうこと？
例えばお前が今手にしているガルガリ君、お前にはどう？
Gary-gary-kun.
どうって水色をしたアイス。
その水色のアイスは本当に現実だと証明できるか？
I mean, what else would it be? It was a Gary-gary-kun. Anyone with eyes could see that. Anyone with a mouth could feel how cold it was with every bite. I would think that it would be a pretty obvious answer.
人は目で見たものを脳が認識して初めてそれが水色のアイスと理解できる。でも脳が本人の意識しないままに嘘をついている可能性だってあるんだぞ。脳が生み出した自分一人だけがそう思い込んでいる妄想かもしれないんだ。
じゃあどうやって現実だって証明するの？
他の人もお前の持っているものが水色のアイスであると観測すれば、それは2人以上の人間の共通の認識となる。
Sorry, I was thinking about Subahimi just now. Because it's hard, in Subahimi, it's hard to establish mutual recognition because the personality or whatever, the persona or the world is self-correcting to the point that remember when Minakami Yuki talks could not recognize Hasaki, and her brain manifests that as Kagami and Tsukasa, but at the same time, from Kagami's from Hasaki's perspective, she was only looking at Tomasane Nissan and all that, but she wasn't hearing Tomasane saying Tsukasa or like Kagami. They were it was self-correcting the moment it goes out of their perception. So but anyway, the difference with anyway, Subahimi is like taking a much more philosophical approach to this. But if you were trying to go for like a science approach, a mutual there wasn't like a mechanism here where each person is self-correcting their delusions.
お前一人だけの妄想じゃなくなるんだ。
I need time to articulate that better.
妄想を現実にするときにはそれを逆説的に捉えればいい。
Break it down then. A person's solitary delusion could become a reality by forcibly showing it to someone. And this could be done by using particles created by a D-sword to attain mutual recognition or something along those lines. Then did I have that power too?
うずぴさっぱり。
Get it.
とにかくこの剣は普通の人には見えないの。
Kozubi returned Sena's Crunchy-kun, then trotted back toward the road. Then, in front of all the people walking along the road, for some inexplicable reason, she began twirling around her D-sword wildly.
やめ
I shielded my eyes. So those were her true colors. In the end, she was nothing more than a homicidal maniac. Any second now, the road would become a sea of blood. Anyone crossing paths with the colossal blade would have had their body torn to pieces. With the police station right in front of us, they'll likely catch her in the act. It would be an open and shut case. This guy isn't listening that she hasn't rebooted.
たくみさん、そんなことにはなってないよ。
Why was it so quiet? A whole crowd had gotten mowed down with her sword in broad daylight, right here in the heart of Shibuya. And yet there hadn't even been a single scream. The cause hadn't even intervened. I slowly uncovered my eyes. Nothing had happened. Nothing at all. Kosubi looking at that, embarrassed, while still brandishing her colossal sword. You would think the sword would have struck anyone nearby, or maybe some railing, or even the ground, but no. Not a thing was damaged. If anything, the sword was passing right through everything, as if everything else was an illusion. Wait a second. Actually, I had that backward. It was the sword that lacked substance. The people walking around us weren't bothered in the slightest. They couldn't see the sword.
ピンポンピンポン。理想度は妄想の剣なのだ。
Ayase had said something along those lines, that the swords could only be seen by those who possessed the power. Standing next to me, Sena let out an exhausted sigh before taking another bite of her Crunchy-kun.
あのディソードは今は小杖の作ったエラーでしかない。周囲共通認識はまだ成立していない。
リアルブートしたらみんなに見えるようになるのです。
Real booting. That would mean sending particles into the dead spots of surrounding observers. Yeah? Not that I knew what the hell a dead spot even was.
ズシャーってしたり、ドガーってできるようにもなるよ。
Can you please explain with anything other than sound effects? Still, I think I got the picture. Sleazy Slash was probably for cutting. Smashy Crash was for hitting. What was this girl going around cutting and hitting? Did Kosubi seriously do such horrifying stuff like that? And what about me? Did I have the power to do that too? No, I wasn't special. I wasn't a Gigglomaniac. In the end, I haven't even been able to obtain a D sword.
剣は見えたよね。だからそのうちたくみさんも持てるの。
I'm telling you, it's no good. Even at O-Front, it just didn't work. Sure, I did see a sword there, but I had no clue how to actually grab it.
どうやって手に入れるかっていうと。
Kozumi peered at Sena, as if to urge her to do something. Sena let out another sigh.
バイオリズムの上昇によって中脳変影系ニューロンのドーパミンが過剰分泌された時、ディソードは現れる。それは危機的な状況や興奮、悲しみ、憎しみ、笑いなど人それぞれだ。ドーパミン分泌量が多ければそれだけ観測しやすくなる。
たくみさん、そういうことなのら。
It was just absurd how wide Sena's knowledge was. She might very well be an outright genius. I mean, with the explanations this detailed, you'd think she majored in gigglomaniacology, if that was even a thing. For starters, I couldn't imagine there being any other girl in all of Japan who would spout theories and jargons off the top of their heads to this degree. What on God's green earth had she studied in literally any of that? What was with all the mysterious characters accumulating around me? I was dying for an answer. Thinking about it all just wore me out. It sucked ass only half understanding what was going on. But I didn't have the strength to look into it myself, because none of these people were normal in the slightest. Grappling with those feelings of bitterness, I took one bite of my thawing Garigari-kun.
当たりだ。
It said I won. It said win on what was visible on the stick. Closely came back and peered into my hand.
たくみちゃん、すっごいね。
大した運だな。
セナさん、自分も当たりが出てほしかったって羨ましがってるのら。
そんなことは思っていない。
I doubted Kozubi could be so easily fooled here, given her ability to read everything on someone's mind.
セナさんはいつも当たりが出ないかなとワクワクしながらガルガリ君を食べてるのら。当たりを引いたのはどれくらい
1割3分の何。
13.7%. She really had this stuff down to the science. Did she calculate all that every time she ate one? Finishing her Garigari-kun as well, she gave the leftover stick a quick glare, only to let out a quiet snort. She must have lost, or at least her face made it look that way. Alright, let's go. Positive delusion.
よかったらどうぞ。
I timidly held out my winning
他
stick.
人に施しを受けるつもりはない。私は自分の可能性を試しているだけだ。
でも本心では欲しいって言ってるね。
あげますよ。僕アイスはあんまり食べないし。
I want to see how this delusion goes. Oh, nothing happened so far. Senna pursed her lips, then she nervously accepted the popsicle.
ありがとう。
Oh, that's so Kazusa-like, man. I was lost for words. Astonished. I would have never imagined I'd ever get to hear Senna thank me. Likely unaware of my surprise, Senna glanced at me.
お前、優しいな。
Mother, this is very. I think her VA went on a roll with this character archetype. Muttered those few words quietly, then immediately looked away. Was it just me, or had she been blushing a little bit just now? Well, she given me an honest thank you, which was enough to make me evaluate her a little bit. I originally just thought she was scary and nothing else, but she actually had a cute side to her.
セナさんは今ので。
Kozubi spun around in place, peered happily at Senna's face, then at mine.
たくみちゃんのこと好きになっちゃったのら。
小杖、何をバカな。
顔がプッポーってなってるの。
Oh, this is so cute.
うるさい、うるさい。
Oh, did she have any idea what she just said? The mother of all Sundares. Blue-eyed Chun's signature catchphrase. I started to grin out of sheer glee, and Senna's finger shot in front of my face.
お前もニヤニヤしてるんじゃない。
I had never seen Senna act so adorably agitated before. I was starting to feel a bit mischievous, so I decided to test her.
ガルガリ君は好きですか？
悪い。
どの辺が？
美味しいだろ。
それだけ。
あと、可愛い。
She was still sullen. Senna then said something that was incomprehensible to me.
かわいい。
Had she just gendered a popsicle? And also, how could popsicles be cute or even uncute?
アイスじゃないから。ガルガリ君が可愛いの。
The mascot. Okay, got it. He was talking about the mascot. Kawaii?
あのイガグリ頭。最高だ。抱きしめて。頬ずりしたくない。
never gonna make it, guys. I'm never gonna make it, guys. Never gonna make it, guys. The expression on Senna's face as she spoke reminded me of a maiden in love. Well, different strokes for different folks, I guess.
それよりお前、
たくみさんですよ。
たくみちゃんなのか。
違う。シャンはつけなくても。
名前は
I had a feeling I already told her my name before. She probably just forgotten.
西条匠です。
だったら、西条。もう、これ以上エラーを作るのはやめておけ。
は？
なんで？ケンは自分の心なのら否定しちゃダメ。コズピーはこのケンのおかげで助かったよ。
Dave, what happened to Kozumi's past? The question tied in with her wish, too. The one where she said she wanted to kill.
妄想を現実にする行為にはリスクがつきまとう。粒子と共に追生成される反粒子はディソードにストックされていくんだ。反粒子は数学的に言えば過去へ向かうものだから。ストックすればするほどギガロマニアックスには現在の状態とのズレが発生し、やがてその矛盾により存在としての自己崩壊へ至る。
In Japanese,
小
please.
杖もあまりディソードを出すのはやめるんだ。普通に生活していきたいなら私の忠告を聞け。これはお前たちの命に関わる話だ。
It didn't look like Senna was joking. Then again, she wasn't the type to joke anyway.
ましてや西条、お前はディソードなしでリアルブートした。本来ならそんなことできるはずがないんだ。リラックの海にはディソードを通してしか干渉できないんだから。お前は普通じゃない。奴らに目をつけられてもおかしくない。
奴らって。
ギガロマニアックスの力を悪用しようとしている連中がいる。
それって将軍？
知らない。誰だそれは。
Kozubi? Did Senna just lie?
ついてないよ。
西条、将軍とは誰だ。
The sheer chill in her voice sent shivers down my spine. Naturally, I couldn't look her in the eye. She grabbed me by the chest, making it hard to breathe. Why did she have to be so violent? What had I even done wrong?
そいつは40代ぐらいの男か。
違うよ。小さなじいさんだよ。
Senna immediately let go of me.
そいつもギガロマニアックスなのか。
わからない。でもニュージェネの真犯人だよ。
真犯人だと。
Senna placed her finger on her chin and began to ponder something while remaining completely still. The air felt volatile. It was hit with a strange feeling of anxiety. Senna knew something. But what the hell did she know? Who were these people that were trying to abuse the power of the Gigalomaniacs?
そうだそうだ。3人で記念撮影しましょう。ほらあれ。
Suddenly, Kozoe pointed to something as she spoke enthusiastically. She was pointing at the arcade next to the police station. When it came to taking commemorative photos. This is so cute. Like, oh, Tagumi's face is like, he was so, you could tell he was very stressed and all that. I still love Senna's face here. It's so sun. Oh, it's so, no, she's being dead. I mean, she's being dead here. So cute. This was where it inevitably happened.
たくみさん、ほら真ん中。
いや、僕は。
セナさん、横見てたらダメです。
私はこういうのは。
コズピーだって初めてなのだ。
Wait. I gotta search for something. Uh. I need to find the exact photo. Oh, no, okay, no. I was looking. I was wondering if it had a weird parallel. I mean, this was before. This was before White Album 2 was ever created. So I was wondering if the post randomly matches up. That would have been so cool if it did, but it didn't. But you know, I was like, anyway. Without once consulting us, close the P, follow the instructions on the screen, and push the button after button. Okay, that was a line. And before Senna and I could get ready mentally and physically, a voice came from the screen.
ポーズパシャ
This is so cute. I really like this photo of them. In the picture we had taken, neither of the D-Source were visible. That is so cute of them.
また明日なのら
With a small wave and smile, Kozupi disappeared in the direction of the station ticket gates. Senna and I watched her go. I would have preferred not to be alone with Senna, but it seemed like she wasn't in a leaving Shibuya mood yet. Maybe she was planning to start wandering around the area like she normally did. I wanted to head back home as soon as possible, but there was one thing I had to ask the resident Gigolomaniac Brainiac before I did.
あの
Even when I tried talking to her, the stern expression remained on her face. It was a lot better when Kozubi was there, but man, would it kill her to be a little more approachable. I assumed she heard me, so while my heart might have been beating out of my chest, I asked my question anyway.
コズピーの心の声もギガロマニアックスの能力なの
I didn't expect her to answer me. I expected her to just hit me with a condescending "heh," just leave it at that. Senna glanced at me once, then shifted her eye toward the Jumbotron resting above the scramble crossing.
心の声はいわば妄想だ。
He replied.
梢はそれを他人のデッドスポットに送り込んでいるに過ぎない。仕組みはさっき説明したものと何も変わらない。送り込んだ粒子を映像ではなく音声に変換しているんだ。電話と同じだな。そして梢から心の声という妄想を送り込まれたことで、お前と梢の間で周囲共通認識が成立したんだ。テレパシーで会話しているように思えるが、全然違う。
だったら僕の心の声はどうしてコズピーに届いたの
I hadn't sent any delusions to Kozupi's dead spots. So, if what Senna was saying was true, it should have been a one-way conversation starting Kozupi. And yet, despite that, we had a conversation with just our inner voices. Several even.
ギガロマニアックスは他人の妄想を見ることができる。梢は特にその能力が高い。他人が垂れ流す妄想をほぼ強制的に見せられていると言ってもいい。
The delusions? Was such a thing possible? I definitely couldn't do that. If I couldn't, then I probably wasn't actually a gigolomaniac. Suddenly, Senna looked farther away from me, her gaze shifting from the Jumbotron to the crowds of people walking through the scramble crossing.
ギガロマニアックスとなったものは誰だろうと一度は壊れているんだよ。
壊れたって何が
心がだ。梢は東京に来る前、奴らに追い詰められて心を壊した。
And so, Senna began to tell me about what Kozupi had experienced before she transferred schools. She began by saying she had seen it in an image, one that she witnessed back when she first met Kosubi. It's almost 12 o'clock. I should... Let me finish this scene and I'm gonna end stream because I really got some sleep. Ever since she was a little girl, Kosubi had possessed a peculiar ability to view the minds of others. Despite this affliction, Kosubi managed to live a somewhat peaceful life by approaching her power in her own way, hiding it from others. Her change had begun with mirrors. Upon entering high school, Kosubi began to see her reflection in mirrors more and more frequently throughout her daily life. At first, she believed it was only coincidence. It would only occur about twice a day. But as time went by, the frequency gradually increased. Kosubi would encounter people holding mirrors more than 10 times in a single day. None of these encounters were particularly suspect, just people passing her by on the street holding a mirror, or a classic fixing her makeup in the bathroom. However, regardless of whether these occurrences were mere coincidence or indeed intentional, Kosue would almost see her own reflection in the mirrors. Eventually, all those who held the mirrors began to make noises akin to suppressed laughter. In their minds, they called out to Kosue with the words, "Who are you?" In the classroom, on the campus, en route to school, while shopping, everywhere Kosue went, these people would appear. It was not a specific person perpetrating it. It was a different person every time. But in Kosue's eyes, anyone who possessed a mirror began to look suspicious. Anyone who would suppress their laughter around her began to look suspicious. For long, even those without mirrors began to look suspicious. And Kosue began to face hallucinations in which they would all call out to her with, "Who are you?" She became nearly neurotic, and the voices present in the back of her head refused to leave. One day, Kosue mumbled something to herself in the mirror.
お前は誰?
Upon saying those words, Kosue felt an immense sense of fear, one that told her she truly did not know the answer. A girl with the same face as hers addressed her from the other side of the mirror.
お前は誰?
Ever since that day, Kosue could no longer speak. She was unable to look at herself in the mirror. Even still, the question of, "Who are you?" would continue to assault her. She did not even know whose voice it was inside of her head anymore. And due to another facet of her peculiar ability, much akin to a broken fax machine, Kosue would receive the voices of other people indiscriminately, regardless of if she desired to or not. She herself had no say in the matter. And thus Kosue's mind was torn to shreds. One day in her second year of high school, Kosue was cleaning the classroom at the end of the day. As she tidied up, 3 female classmates of hers all had mirrors in hand, were whispering something amongst themselves. Mirrors suppressed laughter, and came the question, "Who are you?" Had it truly been the inner voice of one of her 3 classmates, or had it just been an hallucination on Kosue's part? It did not matter. The reflection in the mirror found its way to Kosue's eyes, both of which were trembling in fear. For a moment, Kosue's vision blurred. Had it been intentional or a coincidence? It did not matter. At that very moment, Kosue's mind, after facing endless strain for, over a year, finally broke, the event accompanied by the sound of glass shattering. Upon realizing this, Kosue screamed from the deepest depths of her lungs. Out of the corner of her eye, Kosue saw her D-sword and took hold of it for the very first time. She then proceeded to attack her 3 classmates. The hands of the 3, which each were holding a mirror, were severed by the rebooted D-sword in less than an instant. Oh, okay. According to the minimum attendance... Okay, let me continue. I still have time. I didn't have to go to school today, but despite that, I was heading there anyway for one reason and one reason alone. To see Rimi. I had no doubt that DQNs in the class would make fun of me, just like they always did. It would definitely suck, but if it meant I could see Rimi, I could endure it. As I passed through the school gate, I thought back to yesterday. When we parted, Senna had made it a point made it a point to say something.
お前が望むと望まないとにかかわらず、もしこれ以上踏み込んでくるようなら、負を正にするぐらいの強い意識を持つんだな。中途半端な気持ちじゃ、妄想に食われるだけだぞ。
I didn't want to get involved in anything that sounded dangerous, so I opted not to ask anything else. Besides, I still didn't know how far I had to go to get my hands on the D sword. I was no hero, just a useless piece of shit that couldn't even protect his own sister. But it was also possible that Shogun could show up again. He seemed to be playing with me, like it was some kind of game after all. Maybe he felt like sending me on another quest soon. Just like the thought alone terrified me. I tried to grasp my D sword, but even that was just to protect myself from him. Without that sword, how could I ever hope to escape his evil clutches? Maybe if Rimi was by my side, like she said she would, but she'd been absent from school lately, which worried me. What if she had been taken hostage, just like Nanami? Was there anyone out there who could help me? There would have to be someone with a D sword. Ayase couldn't because she was injured. Sana definitely wouldn't. And Kozupi was a bit, no, she was fairly weird. My head looking squarely at the floor, I entered the classroom. Before taking my seat, I took a quick look around. I looked toward Rumi's seat first. Empty. Was she taking today off too? Was it really that simple? Was she really just taking time off? I began to feel anxious. I wanted to see her. I wanted to see that cheerful face. Next, I looked over at Kozupi's desk. She was in her seat, face down, huddled up. I was reminded of what Senna had told me yesterday. It now made sense why Kozupi was always like that. Morning, Kozupi. They finally have morning conversations while all huddled down like that. I didn't make eye contact, but I greeted her with my inner voice. The female DQNs were watching me smirking. Cunts. It was no different than yesterday. They were already labeled me as that otaku freak who said he was psychic and made an ass of himself on TV, and that label wasn't going away anytime soon. The male DQNs didn't seem to have arrived yet. It was pretty common for them to skip first period, and that was fine by me. I took my seat, but when I did, that voice called my name.
Taku, ohayo.
Shock, I looked up in panic, and there she stood, right in front of my very eyes. Rimi. With a hint of shyness, she gave me a short wave.
久しぶり。
リミ。
It wasn't an illusion. There was definitely a presence. She was breathing. Her hair was rustling. She was blinking. She was right there. She was right there. I felt a twinge in the back of my nose. I felt a squeeze within my chest. I felt like I was going to cry. I still hadn't sat down. I just froze with my head hanging down. I was so happy. I got to see her again.
ちょっとタク、どうしたの？
By the way, she's also a mind reader. So, you know. Okay.
もしかして泣いてるの？
I frantically shook my head. If my DQ classmates found out I was crying, they'd start making fun of me all over again. I told myself that I couldn't cry, but the tears kept flowing.
わかった。私に再会できて嬉しいんだ。そうでしょ。なんてね。ちょっと自意識過剰だったかな。
Even as she joked around so cheerfully, all I could do was continue shaking my head. I couldn't even look at her. If I did, I knew I'd really start bawling. Suddenly, someone clapped me on the back.
Oh, Taku.
It was Misumi-kun with an uncomfortable look on his face. His laugh was a lot weaker than usual. You certainly had no issue ignoring me before. Why start paying attention to me now all of a sudden? I'm sure that you'll regret talking to me. You'll become the DQN's next target, just like me. Yeah, Rimi, Misumi-kun, even you. You both better be not associating with an otaku freak like me. I remained silent, but Misumi-kun forced a smile.
暗いな。朝から新規臭いぜ。ま、お前はそういうやつだって分かってるけどな。
As harsh as his words were, I didn't get the feeling he was joking or acting sarcastic. After all, it was pretty common for him to say stuff like that.
そういう大臣は朝から無駄に爽やかだね。
無駄にとか言うな。久々に学校来たと思ったらいきなりそれか。
じゃあ嘘くさい爽やかさ。
なたく、この言い草どう思うよ。
I nodded ambiguously. The tears had somehow managed to stop. The usual routine was happening right in front of me. Both of them were completely oblivious to the fact that I was standing in my standing in class had taken a steep nosedive.
そういえば、岸本のことを聞いたか。まだ入院中らしいぜ。怪我は大したことなかったんだけど、精神的にかなり参ってるらしい。いいか、タク。女を落とすのに一番手っ取り早いのは、弱ってる時に優しくしてやることだ。というわけで俺、本気で岸本の見舞いに行こうかなと思ってんだよね。
大臣最低。
Ah, shit, I want to continue. I want to continue from here. So much for... I'm supposed to get some sleep. I have a lot of meetings tomorrow at work. I need my brain.
彼女さんに刺されるよ。
お見舞いに行くだけだろ。別にやましいことじゃねえよ。
ほんの数秒前と言ってることが違うし。
そういえばタクって岸本と知り合いだったよな。な、一緒に行ってくんね。
It was the typical subject matter for Misumi-kun. I thought for sure he was gonna ask me about my psychic powers, but when he didn't, it caught me completely off guard. But instead of noticing, Misumi-kun went right back to what he was saying. And then we fell into our usual routine. Misumi-kun talking and talking, Rimi occasionally butting in with a sharp jab, and me just giving vague responses. And the fact that it was no different than the usual made me happy. At the top floor of the Nozomi Group HQ, within the presidential office, Norase Geichi stood near a window, lighting a cigarette ablaze. Nozomi Group, an enormous corporate group with abundant subsidiaries, one that conducted business while being accompanied by license approval from the nation itself. A number of those subsidiaries had found success in a variety of business fields, from sales of clothing or groceries to managing sales and imports as a trading company. It's a fucking Zaibatsu, basically. Anyway, Norase, who reigned above all at the apex of the group, looked below at the grand view of his castle. His conscious mind, however, was not gazing upon the scenery before him. Repeatedly tapping his foot against the floor in agitation, his lips curled in a sneer.
まったく老人たちの相手は面倒ですよ。そう思いませんか。彼らは臆病すぎる。だからこそここまでのし上がってきたとも。利用するにもこうあれこれと横槍を入れられてはいい加減うんざりしてきますよ。現実は悲しいかな。300人委員会の影響力というものを侮ることはできません。ただいずれ近いうちにそのシステムも崩壊する。世界の支配構造は組み替えられる。楽しみですか？私もですよ。ここまで随分時間がかかってしまいました。プロジェクトノア立ち上げからすでに5年余り。
Norase approached his personal desk. The solid desk of a natural oak contained a few ornaments of any note. adorned only with items one might find in a typical office setting. At the table's edge, however, a single conspicuous object casually lay. Norase grasped the green, strangely designed character in his hand. Upon giving it a single disinterested glance, he promptly discarded it in the waste bin.
さて
His narrowed eyes turned to the dim room's interior. The rear at the room where the moonlight could not reach housed the slightest hint of another person.
まさか君がギガロマニアックスだとは思いもよりませんでした。どうやら神すらも私の味方をしてくれているようだ。君のサンプルを取らせてもらいますよ。何？怯える必要はありません。私は元医師でしてね。インフォームのコンセントはきちんとしなければ気が済まないたちなのです。そもそもノア2のハードウェアはすでに完成しています。あと必要なのはソフトウェアの方でした。そのために君たちギガロマニアックスのサンプルが多く必要なのです。正確に言うならば NA シナプスに関するコードサンプル、脳の働きに指令を出す役割を果たしている部位の行動サンプルですよ。コードサンプルには個人差があります。持っている能力が高いギガロマニアックスは NA シナプスもより活性化し、脳のより広い範囲にわたって効果を及ぼします。
You're only using 10% of their brain. I'm just kidding. I hate that bullshit.
全体の10分の
But being a
1
Gigamaniac means you can use 100% of your brain.
ギ
Oh, here we go. Here's the line. Here's the fucking line, man. This is fucking just so you know, and the actual science is that's a misuse line, man. It's one of those. In reality, we actually do use 100% part of our brains, but you know, Jesus Christ.
.残りの10分の9の部位も使っていることが分かっています。ギガロマニアックスの頭の中というのは
My brain hurts seeing that cliche quote, man.
そのサンプルがノア2にとっていわば CPU の役割を果たすわけです。サンプルが多ければ多いほどノア2の能力は本物のギガロマニアックスに近づき、やがて超えるでしょう。納得してもらえましたか？結構。
Norase nodded in satisfaction, exhaling a cloud of smoke as he returned his view to the scenery beyond the window. Upon viewing it up close, the Shibuyan nightscape was the essence of vulgarity itself, leaving Norase solely with the feelings of discomfort. This persistent belief of this remote location, however, was that it was more than adequate. Nevertheless, it would not be long before this nightscape would be a sight never to be seen again. The final experiment of his Project Noah would make sure of that.
世界が生まれ変わる日も近い。
Oh no, Nanami! Oh my god, Nanami! It was lunch break. I usually skip lunch. I had no one to eat with. I didn't want to eat alone in the classroom. Recently, Rumi had started asking me to eat with her. But since I was me, I would always get embarrassed and refuse in the end. That meant that my usual routine would be to leave the classroom and take refuge in the place I felt comfortable. Sometimes it was the library, sometimes it was the courtyard. But now that everyone in school knew my face, there was no place I could go where I could relax. The merciless gazes that pierced through me, the abuse and ridicule that was hurled at me, today, too, I walked around school being exposed to all of it. Eventually, I knew I had no choice but to duck into a private bathroom. But right when I was about to, I saw Nanami walking down the corridor leading to the first year building. It looked like she was walking alone toward the classrooms. Speaking of Nanami, I hadn't spoken to her since the incident. I've been avoiding her for the entire week. And I've been doing it because I didn't know how to act once I saw her. And I put my own life before hers. I was the worst big brother ever. It was only a miracle that Nanami had been released safe and sound. I'd had nothing to do with it. Maybe Shogun had told her it was my fault she got kidnapped. If she had, she would definitely be angry at me. Maybe she hated me. Maybe she didn't want to speak to me ever again. That's why I didn't have the courage just to go talk to her. But now that I've seen her, I was starting to worry about her once again, even after everything. I wondered if I had truly wronged her. I wondered if she had been injured. I wondered if she had been hurt mentally. Oh shit. For a moment, the memory of the hand resurfaced in my head, but I shook my head violently to ward it off. The severed hand, along with the bangle it had been wearing, and the cell phone it had been holding. It had all been a delusion. A real delusion. Because the hand had disappeared from the refrigerator. Rather than thinking it somehow sprouted legs and walked away, it was far more reasonable to believe that it had never been there in the first place. The fact that Nanami was alive and well was proof of that. Before I knew it, I had broken into a run. I was chasing after Nanami. Her figure got bigger and bigger as I approached her. She hadn't noticed me yet. As she walked, she played with her hair with the fingertips of her right hand. As I ran, I started to call out to her. On her right hand, the hand that was playing her hair, the sleeve of her uniform was ever so slightly slipped down. Suddenly I was hit with a strange feeling, and I choked back the sound I was about to make. I stopped dead under my tracks. I'd seen it. It had been extremely trivial, truly inconsequential feeling, and yet, white. It was white. As I tried to conceal something, a white bandage was wrapped around her right wrist. Oh man, chapter 8. Oh shit. You know what? I'll end here. The moment I saw this, I was like, I don't want to continue. I'll do this tomorrow. So yeah, we might be poised to finish the first ending tomorrow. Maybe. That's a big maybe. I don't know. I'll try to start as early as I get back from work. Since I already made, and since tomorrow I'm just gonna most likely just eat whatever I made tonight. You know. Oh yeah, I was supposed to do some grocery. Should I do it tomorrow? Maybe I'll do it on Tuesday. Anyway, I'll try to stream as early as possible, and I want to make that a long, continuous stream. So I'm hoping to have a long session tomorrow until 12ish again tomorrow, or not maybe because I work on home. I work at home on Tuesdays, so I could probably go later on tomorrow evening. But yeah, enjoyed today's stream. I really progressed like several, like I think I progressed 3 or 2 chapters today. So that's a good progress. I really hope I progress a lot tomorrow. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy watching, and I'll see